happens when a woman who spent her life helping others heal realizes she's been quietly hurting herself and that alcohol isn't comforting anymore, it's costing her. Today's conversation goes right into the moment that everything changed, not the polished version, but the real one, and how she turned that reckoning into a mission that's changing what sober living looks like for all of us. Today's guest is someone I've been so excited to bring you for a long time because, well, first of all, I super admire her, but she embodies something I think so many of us understand: the journey from holding it all together to finally telling the truth. I'm Margie Schaller, the host of Sober Life Rocks podcast, and I'm so grateful that you are listening.
Welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. You may have made the decision not to drink alcohol, or at the very least, not at work-related events. Whether you've never been a drinker, are in recovery, or made a health-related decision, we see you, and you are not alone. In today's world, networking, socializing, and celebrations often happen over drinks, and the struggle can be real. Through this podcast, we're changing that narrative. We're here to create a community where individuals like you, who choose not to drink or drink less, can find camaraderie, support, and practical advice.
Before we start, I wanted to share with you just how excited we are that Amplify Sober Voices is just 1 week away. Now, if you don't have your ticket, it's not too late, especially those of you in Florida who could just drive right up to Orlando. It's January 15th, and this is something you just don't want to miss. Check it out at amplifysobervoices.com. My guest today is Susie Streelman. She's the founder of Zero Proof Experiences and host of The Sober in the City, where she's reimagining how we gather, how we celebrate, how we travel and connect, all without alcohol being the price of admission. But what I love most about Susie isn't the mission she's building, it's the woman behind it. The kid who learned early to perform fine, the high-achieving adult who used wine like whiteout over her stress, and the brave human who realized one day she wanted her life back. You're going to hear all about her, what sobriety has shown her that she could never see when she was drinking, and why creating sober experiences for others became her calling. Susie, welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast.
Thank you, Margie. It's so great to be here with you and really exciting about the event coming up next week. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you're somebody that I have looked at as like the gold standard, that I have just looked up to for so long, and building a relationship with you and getting to know you has just been like such a joy. So I'm grateful that you're here.
Thank you so much. I feel the same. It's just always fun to connect and feel the energy.
Yeah. So I always like to kind of dig in a little bit and find out, like, before the retreats, before the wellness world, before all of that, what was life like for you as a kid? And what did that younger version of you learn about alcohol, or not, from watching adults in your life?
Yeah, well, interesting question, Margie. As a kid, I actually grew up in a home that did not have alcohol at all.
Really?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a forbidden fruit, and I guess started dabbling, not really that much until I was of drinking age, as a matter of fact, Margie. So perhaps that's a little bit rare, but
It is. So what was your thoughts about alcohol then? Did you think of it as like this allure, or was it like danger?
yeah, I think it was both. We had relatives, I guess, that drank alcohol, and we knew that was not right. But also, yeah, I do think there was an allure that, there were commercials on TV then and so on. And yeah, so for me, I think I did start drinking in my 20s with the pink wine. The white Zinfandel, because that was a little bit sweeter. And of course, quickly graduated to something more sophisticated. So I was a Chardonnay girl for a long time. Yeah. Yeah.
And what sort of was that feeling like for you of now you were drinking when you weren't supposed to, or was it like, oh, this isn't so bad? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, no, I think I felt like I was finally doing, the proper sophisticated thing. And, I guess there are some parts about that did make me feel kind of cool, going out and
Hmm.
ordering, especially when I graduated to Chardonnay, I suspect from from the White Zinfandel. Then I really felt
From the
pretty
Kool-Aid.
cool, Margie, and going, wine tasting. I mean, I grew up in California actually, and I even went to school for a year in the Napa Valley. So, there, I mean, those wineries, they are certainly beautiful, right? And
And the whole like tasting the flights of the different things. I mean, it
Mhm.
feels so much like art sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
And they take you through all their processes, and they make you feel, they build it up to be so very special, don't they?
Hmm. And so what happened?
Well, I guess I just continue to carry on. So, and we all, I guess, know the tolerance thing. It happens with medications or, over the counter medications like Tylenol. If you take those all the time, right, one doesn't do it anymore for a headache. You might need two or three. And, it was the same for the wine with me. I was always like super impressed if I hadn't had any wine by, 5 or 6 p.m. on Friday. But it really did come to a point where, I wasn't really feeling too much of that, I guess, relaxed looseness, maybe a buzz before, two or three glasses of wine a lot of
Hmm.
times.
Now, at the time, and to this day, like you were a physical therapist, right?
Mhm.
And so there was this whole wellness aspect to your life. Did you make any connections between wellness aspect of your life and the drinking, or was that just part of the whole I deserve it relaxation thought?
Well, no, no, I did not originally for quite a long time, which that's a very good question. And it's very interesting because no, I mean, it still honestly is a little bit interesting because it still happens. It is changing now, but still wine is really quite prevalent in the wellness culture. And in fact, back in those days, resveratrol, excuse me, was the hot ticket, right, in red wine. And I did kind of mosey on over to Pinot Noir at some point when that was becoming such a prominent part of the conversation. I think now we're hearing more and more that simply was a little bit off base. It's
Mhm.
kind of like maybe adding a shot of resveratrol to your French fries and saying, "Oh, this is a healthy food now." I don't really think that is true. But that really was, I think, a big part, I guess, of my cognitive dissonance on parallel tracks, where I was very passionate. I've always been interested in exercise, in nutrition. And yes, interestingly, the healthy wine was in a completely different compartment. And for many years, I could get away with that, Margie. I think it wasn't, I don't know. I remember working out in the morning. Actually, one of the things that I liked to do on New Year's Day was do like this 90-minute spin ride. Some of the gyms around here would host one on New Year's Day to sort of kick things off. And believe it or not, that's something that I found to be quite fun, and something that I looked forward to doing, and kind of kicking things off. Now, I do remember I think that was the first time I thought, oh, I drank too much last night. In my 20s, I would never notice that. But yeah, I had a pretty bad ride one day on New Year's. I'm like, oh, maybe there is a correlation. So yeah, that was really probably a big theme throughout my 30s and even into my 40s. Yeah.
I mean, you and I have talked about this, like even today, wellness conferences or wellness retreats end the day with a wine tasting. I've seen recently advertisements for a wellness retreat at a vineyard. And it's so interesting to me that this is still, that those connections are not being made, that we still align with the idea that we are healthy in this box, and then we go and have these drinks, and there's no clear delineation there. It makes no sense to me. It boggles my mind.
It makes no sense. You're absolutely right. And again, I do think it's changing. It is certainly outdated. I have seen, for example, a retired physician tell my family member that, you know, they were taking a couple of month break from alcohol because they'd just gotten a heart diagnosis they were a little concerned about. And this retired physician said, "Oh, that's not a problem at all." And, my impression is that's a little bit outdated information. It wasn't anybody's fault. That is what was being taught, and that's what they were learning. That's not what the Surgeon General and multiple studies are coming out today. They're saying that there is zero benefit. Honestly, that is not my platform either. I know it is true. And, we're going to talk about that because these are the studies that are coming out. I am not anti-alcohol. If you want to drink, you do you. And yes, we do know that about one another. But also, we want to create a path where there is this inclusive experience for people that don't drink, where, the continued elevated experience, whether it's travel, whether it's dining out, happens for the alcohol-free person as well.
Yeah. Talking about those doctor's things, I remember when I was pregnant, I have two kids, and I was absolutely like militant about eating healthy, no caffeine, no alcohol, like all of the things. And I remember being in for my OB one time with my second kid and describing that and saying that, I was just trying so hard to like follow all these things. And was it okay if I had a little bit of chocolate, like a piece of cake or something? And he was like, "Oh my gosh, have a glass of wine from time to time, have some chocolate from time to time. It's no big deal." And so my alcoholic brain was like, "Oh, from time to time, that must be day to day." Now I didn't, but that's what I heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Right.
All
So
right.
interesting. Mm-hmm.
So I want to know,
Mm-hmm.
when did you, looking back, was there a particular moment, like you described that New Year's Day, but was there a particular moment or maybe a slow burn when you realized that alcohol was no longer comforting or no longer working for you? It was numbing you too much. And like, what did that voice sound like that said this isn't working?
Okay, Margie, you might, you know me a little bit, so you probably might guess it was an ultra slow burn, like a real slow, Margie. But however, I talked to some other people that are in that same in that same boat. And I don't make quick decisions. I do tend to think things through. So yeah, if I'm honest, it was probably over 20 years ago when I would have conversations inside my head, not including one other person in it, that, oh, okay, I think I'll just slow way down, or maybe I'll just quit alcohol. But, that would often last until the next barbecue. Yeah, I think you probably know what I mean. I did, however, become quite expert at taking breaks. In fact, one of the first times, you may not know this, at the, ripe age of 40, I think I went just for a regular physical, but around the time you start doing that a little bit more often. And my liver enzymes were a bit elevated, not crazy, but for me, with what I felt was my great, health expertise or, passion and motivation, it really did upset me and give me pause. And that is probably the real catalyst that got me. That probably was, in fact, the turning point. And I don't know, it only took another dozen years or so after that. But, if I'm honest, I cut way back after that, Margie. And so I would, in fact, I took 2 entire lints off, which I thought was like eternal. I was very impressed with myself. That's almost 50 days or so, depending on the year. And then I would promptly celebrate with champagne on Easter. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I took breaks often. I did a couple of dry Januaries. I actually did a program almost 10 years ago now with James Swanwick, and that began to change the way I thought inside my head about alcohol. So, yeah, I was really an expert breaker. In fact, I thought you should come and talk to me if you ever wanted to take a break. Then during the pandemic, if I'll just kind of briefly go
Mhm.
into that. We had a big crowd actually in the pandemic. We had all the kids come home and more cousins. So we pretty much had dinner parties every night for around 7 people. And you might say that's not a bubble, but it was our bubble. So it was kind of a big party here, and I really didn't like. I didn't like it. I didn't like creating that atmosphere for my kids and family and relatives. And so, I don't know, about a year in, I said, okay, that's enough. It's enough cookies. It's enough wine. I'm going to take a longer break. I signed up for a 4-month break because, I mean, I was already good at it, Margie. And so that was my intention. I'm like, I'm going to do this class. I'm going to connect with some of these gals at Sober Sis. Was really a lot of fun, honestly. And that's what I did. And I am still on that break. So yeah, it's been over 5 years.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, what happened to get you from that moment
Mhm.
to zero proof experiences and sober in the city? Because I just think that that is so cool. And so tell people a little bit about what that is as you describe the journey to get there.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So I feel like I am a regular person. I have stepped into something a little bit more, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities that have come up because of it. It's pretty exciting. One of my favorite things is to travel, to go. A big hobby of mine was going out to dinner with family and friends, and it became pretty stressful, Margie, after I had decided to quit alcohol, particularly in that time frame. I would show up for a restaurant, and sometimes I would even pre-plan looking at the menu and decide exactly what I was going to order, and then they would throw me off by saying, oh, that lavender martini is pre-mixed. We can't do that without alcohol, or that won't really taste like anything, or are you sure you want that, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The best we can do is strawberry lemonade. I got so angry with those people. And, I didn't like that I actually had, when I was a year alcohol free, I didn't really know how to celebrate. So I just ordered like everything that I could imagine on the internet, like curious elixirs, which are still one of my go-to favorites, and groovy alcohol free wine. Love Annika and the things that she has done. So, yeah, there I was. I'd have something better at home, and I loved to go out. And so, a few of us kind of got together online, and we decided we'd call it Sober in the City. And we hosted a little dinner downtown Long Beach. We got Liars alcohol free spirits. We got the rep to come over, and we met with the restaurant and said, let's create a few alcohol free cocktails. We had those. That was in January of 2022, meant to sort of be a celebratory finish to dry January. Instead of having the champagne at Easter, we were going to have alcohol-free cocktails and a fun dinner party. And, I think a lot of us walked into that and just sighed, and decided we have to do this again. And so we did that 2 more times in 2022. We went to Sacramento, where my partner Peggy Cooney was our keynote speaker. And then we went to Austin, Texas, because people told us they would like to go somewhere more of a destination than
Mhm.
Sacramento, for example. Peggy always gives me a bad time for saying that. But what is Sober in the City? I think it's a travel experience, kind of a palooza celebration of the alcohol-free lifestyle, where you're going to get to experience a new destination, a new city. All the pressure of thinking about what to do or what to drink is going to be completely off. You're going to meet some interesting people who are like-minded. And, one of my very favorite parts, just to jump to the end, is the Saturday night celebratory dinner party. That's my heart, Margie, where it really started, that we should have something special. I don't expect it to be tailored 100% every time I go out to dinner, although I love to have the option of a nice zero proof cocktail, and I'm happy to pay for it when it's good. But, this is a special dinner party that is catered. There's probably going to be a specialty cocktail, a specialty non-alcoholic wine available, and, a fun party, a fun speaker. And that to me is my favorite part, probably some dancing. But, there's a lot to the weekend, a lot of breakout sessions, chances to learn maybe from some authors, but also some things that are, unrelated to not drinking alcohol, some wellness aspect and so on.
Well, this is going to be my first time going, and Laura is coming as well, my partner. And I'm so excited because I think that there is sort of this two split screen thing going on. There's the clinical conferences that you can go to for clinicians to learn about, the effects of alcohol and all of that. And then there's these experiential ones. And I think what you guys are doing is so genius, because I think it was probably Peggy that said, it's a chance to just find out what it's like to travel without alcohol with a group of like-minded people and have it be so much fun and have it be celebratory and have it be relaxing and there's going to be yoga there and all the different things. I think that, to me, that is genius, just to really expand on the lifestyle of not like white knuckling, not drinking, but truly leaning into it and loving it.
Yeah. We're so excited that you're coming too. And, I know you've probably met some people already for sure that are coming, but also just want to mention that it's usually over 50% that come all by themselves that have not met somebody other than online. So, we like to do some sort of fun things at the beginning of the weekend that are low key, but also give you a chance to step up, be a little bit brave, and say, hey, I'm gonna meet somebody, I'm gonna connect with some people here. And it's fun to see people that have met at a Sober in the City and now are, traveling together all over, just become great friends, as well as, we do attract a lot of leaders in the space as well. And it's, fun to see what the next projects are that come together from those connections.
Absolutely. So I'm fascinated by the fact that this started out as just dinner parties and sort of organically grew. Where does zero proof experiences fall into that? And what is that?
Yeah, zero proof experiences, we like to focus on an alcohol free now what, right? So we're not really coaches to become alcohol free. I mean, we're not, but we do love to help to create that really full life that can absolutely happen. And I certainly thought, not that many years ago, that what would be the point of going on a vacation when you weren't drinking alcohol? You may as well postpone it until you get back. In fact, when I used to take those longer breaks, Margie, I retrospectively, I can see that I sort of retreated and I would avoid social events until after I was finished with my break. Now, if you're going to be on a longer term break, that is not sustainable. That is not the kind of life that I want, staying home and waiting until I can drink again. Yeah. And now we certainly can see that how much fuller the life is. So we do host a membership where we do have a couple of calls a week. They're at 6:30 in the morning Pacific time. And it's a way to connect, but they are topical. So there is learning, there's connection, there is a a program to it. It's not just a free for all check-in. Nothing wrong with that. That's not what we do. And we love to promote travel experiences. So Sober in the City is really our biggest thing that we do every year. But we do plan, and we have the last couple of years hosted a small group travel experience. I know you know this, but we
I want to hear about it. I want to hear about it.
we were so excited to host, together with Hooked Alcohol Free Travel, the world's first non-alcoholic wine tasting trip to Germany and Austria. We just got home a few weeks ago. And yeah, if you had told me that would happen, even a couple of years ago, I would not have believed it. And just a heads up, I mean, it completely exceeded my expectations. They're way ahead of us there. The very first day we were able to tour Lights Winery. They've been working on this for 9 years, Margie, and they'd had 12 different varietals. We were able to visit multiple.
12 non-alcoholic varietals.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. If anybody's listening, do you know how crazy that is? Like, so many places might have 2.
Yes.
12. That's
12.
awesome.
Yes, it was awesome. So they were able to share that with us. I mean, the room was all set up. So I can tell you that we will be doing a non-alcoholic wine tasting trip in 2026. That was, just such a highlight for me that, I mean, I rated the trip 15 out of 10 myself. So, and it's fun to hear them. People often ask why wine isn't as good as the alcohol-free beer. And now, having that experience, I wasn't sure before, but they're saying that it is simply knowledge. They've been working on alcohol-free beer for 20 years, and they've been working on it longer in Germany. So, in my honest opinion, there are a lot better varietals in Germany than there are here yet. But, we can see that it's evolving, and their vision they told me they're expecting it to be a lot better next year. So, it's definitely happening. It's just taken time and knowledge.
And I mean, not to get into the weeds too much, but the old method basically burned off the alcohol and burned off the flavor. And the new methodology basically creates real wine, and then they have a special formula process where they're able to extract those alcohol molecules and leave the wine intact. And so it's a much different thing, and it is expensive to get going. So I think that that's been part of the barrier as well. But we now know that 80% of the non-alcoholic beverages are bought by people who do drink.
Right.
So there's a huge market for this stuff out there. We just need to catch up here in the US.
Yeah. And I mean, and we are, it's coming, but it's kind of fun to go over there and see what it's like to be a few years further down the road, because
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you a question. Now you are spending this time and effort and joy and passion creating these meaningful experiences for other people. But I kind of want to flip it. When you think of yourself at your lowest, your tiredest, this just isn't working for you anymore, what do you wish that someone had created for you? The thing that might have changed everything sooner.
Okay, like even while I was drinking alcohol.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I think it was, because I did mention that I joined James Swanwick. He's great. I know some of his coaches currently today. He's still at it and really a great influence. And that was in 2017. And that's when, kind of like at the very beginning, when this whole alternative reality was coming. Before that, I feel like there was mainly AA. Mm-hmm. And so for me, and I know this isn't for everybody, but the alcohol-free beverage industry, I am very grateful for, because it does make me feel special. I used to say at the beginning that when I was at a party and I had something nice to drink, I felt 30% better,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because I was more comfortable. I had something to enjoy like other people had to enjoy. And so I'm not sure if that's exactly your question, but that really is such a big factor to me. The alcohol-free beverage industry has been life-changing. It's not 100% for everybody. For me, it is 100%
Yeah.
important. I don't
Yeah.
think that water is just fine when I go out to dinner. That's me. I would love to have something special every time.
And I'm with you. I mean, I was a wine drinker as well, and I really, for me, do still to this day believe that wine and food pair together so well. And I love cooking. I love eating, and it when I got sober, it felt less than complete. Now I got sober 20 years ago, and drinking non-alcoholic beverages. First of all, they were crap, and second of all, it was just you didn't do that. And I actually didn't start exploring it until I was probably 18 and a half, 19 years sober. And I
So
remember
interesting.
the time, yeah, and I remember the time listening to a podcast where somebody said that they got sober with alcohol-free beverages, that they were able to literally just swap out and they experienced the same relaxing moments in the end of the day because that mental association with the taste was still there, but now they just didn't have the alcohol component to it. I thought, well, that's super interesting.
Right, right. You just swap out the beverage, the habit. You can still have the habit. You can still connect over a beverage, relax with the beverage. Doesn't have to have alcohol in it. Surprisingly, who knew?
Right, right. And I remember I went to a sober wedding about, I don't know, 15 years ago, and the champagne toast was with Martinelli's. I'm like, I mean, yay, but no, not really.
Yeah, that's terrible. My sister was in town this week and we actually just shared. I have to admit that I brought 13 bottles home from Germany, Margie.
Of
So
course.
and I'm going to need to go back for refills. But we do have some nice options here too, but those were a little bit more special. And we shared, it was a full bodied, she had a sip and she was like, oh wow, this is really something special. And it was very nice. I like the
Mhm.
other zero proof cocktails. Wine is, as you heard, sort of
The
what
first love.
I did
Yeah.
enjoy, and it is my thing. And it's very easy, isn't it? When you have the wine just to pour it into a glass, it's a little bit more to make a cocktail,
Hmm.
and, that uses a few ingredients, but
Yeah,
I do enjoy both for sure.
absolutely. Okay, final question I have for you.
Mhm.
For the high functioning woman today who is, exhausted inside and maybe quietly unraveling, like you described yourself, the one who sees herself in part of your journey, what do you want her to know right now?
Well, I mean, I thought about it for a long time. I would suggest just being curious, even trying something out, trying out a break. I would recommend don't do it alone. That's what I did. And there are so many options right now. If you just go on Instagram and type in alcohol free, you're going to probably connect with quite a few coaches and a variety of programs. And you don't have to share with all your friends that you're doing it, but just to take that break, I think to be curious and see if you like it better or not. You can always go back to drinking if you want to. It's still going to be there.
I love that so much. Um, where can people learn more about Sober in the City? Because that's coming up in May, and about your 2026 trip.
Awesome. So I would love to connect with you. I would love to hear a DM on Zero Proof Experiences on Instagram. Our website is zeroproofexperiences.com, and would also love to meet you in person in Colorado Springs next May. And yeah, feel free to check out our membership too. It's a great way to just get to know some like-minded folks.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I would be remiss in not sharing is that Susie and Peggy and myself and Laura have collaborated together because we
Love it.
know that there are a lot of people who want to support this movement, want to support this idea of um, the lifestyle of sober living and the amplifying your voice and becoming more and making a difference. And so we came together to create a year-round sponsorship that includes presence at both of our events, Amplify Sober Voices and Sober in the City, as well as all year round marketing, emails, social media, podcast appearances, all of the things. And it's such an honor to be collaborating together with you on that. And if anybody listening knows somebody who might be interested in that sort of partnership with us, please reach out to us either, as Susie said, a DM on Zero Proof Experiences, or directly with us at info@soberliferocks.com. We would love to have a chat with you.
Awesome. Yes, we want to meet you. And
Yes.
it's exciting.
So as we wrap up, conversations like this, they always stay with me. And what I kind of am thinking about after this conversation with Susie is how many women out there are doing what she used to do? Showing up strong on the outside while quietly negotiating with themselves on the inside. And then how life changes the moment you finally decide that you don't have to keep putting on that mask, that you don't have to keep showing up in this dual personality, that you can take care of yourself first. So if you're listening and something kind of spoke to you, pay attention to that, because our lives are always trying to get our attention. And you deserve a life that feels like you, not the version that you think you're supposed to maintain. Thank you so much for listening to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. And if something in today's episode hit home, please like or subscribe and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration to live louder and freer and sober proud. Thank you, Susie.
Thanks, Margie.